Bitcoin went up to $64,000 today. And in today's video, I want to go ahead and talk about the extreme greed in the market. I want to go ahead and cover how high I think Bitcoin can actually go, at least in the near term, and my plans for Bitcoin now that we're actually well above $60,000. And I want to go ahead and talk about what the heck is going on over at Coinbase. But before we get to that, be sure to subscribe, be sure to hit that like button, and be sure to follow me on X. So today, Bitcoin has absolutely basically mooned at this point. We've had Bitcoin up over 8% in 24 hours. Over the last week, we've seen Bitcoin climb 20%, and it's actually come down since it went all the way up to about 64,000. Now you'll notice here on the Fear and Greed Index, we've actually hit extreme greed. So we have crossed the threshold from greed to extreme greed, and I would say market euphoria. If we go ahead and take a look at our Bitcoin chart, and in fact, we're so high right now that I have to actually back Bitcoin out and compare it to where we were back in November of 2021. So you can see I have multiple lines of resistance here in red, and Bitcoin has gone through every single line of resistance except for the one we have here at about 64,000. Again, we move this up just a little bit here, and we can see that Bitcoin is in pretty rarefied air right now. Now, Bitcoin, the only time it's been higher than this was a very short period in April of 2021 and a very short period in October and November of 2021. That's it. We are so high on Bitcoin right now that that this is almost uncharted territory. Now, what I want to draw your attention to is the incredibly high RSI, the relative strength index, okay, here at the bottom. This is sitting at 82. Now, you'll notice here on the weekly that this is usually where Bitcoin tends to top out on, even during the bull market and the bull market cycles. And so what I think this means, at least in the short term, is that I'm not going to sit here and try to call a top for Bitcoin, but what I'm going to say is that we can at least see the top from where we are right now, at least in the near term when it comes to Bitcoin. Now I've been talking specifically about the possibility that we can actually hit all-time high before the next halving, and we're basically almost it. I mean, Bitcoin has been all the way up to about 69,000, and we're really not even that far off of 69,000 at this point. Again, we went all the way up to about 64,000 today. So I think it's just really important to put this into context. And the context is right now that there is extreme greed, extreme exuberance, and extreme FOMO currently in the market. In fact, I want to go ahead and cover something that this Twitter user, Eric Balkunas, has actually posted on X, and I've been following this guy for some time now, and he's actually given some very good figures of the kind of inflows that we've seen so far with the Bitcoin spot ETFs. In fact, he said the new nine spot ETFs traded $6 billion in one day today. Okay, $6 billion. Okay, that's insane. And even if they add in GBTC, you actually have, again, a new record. Okay, they completely destroyed the old record, and now they're at a new volume record. So this just goes to show you that it has been incredibly impactful to have these Bitcoin spot ETFs approved. And it's noticeable in the price. Obviously, we've seen Bitcoin go all the way up to 64,000. Now, it's not just these Bitcoin spot ETFs. In fact, I want to go ahead and direct your attention here to this Bitcoin address right here, which is the number 3 Bitcoin address right now. And this one's actually linked to Robinhood. It's actually linked to a Robinhood. It is a Robinhood Bitcoin wallet. And you'll notice that for today, the 28th of February, we can see that it added 4,000 Bitcoin in one transaction and 800 Bitcoin in another transaction. So we can see here that 4,800 Bitcoin was put into this wallet from Robinhood. Now, what that tells me is, and it takes a little bit of speculation, but what that tells me is that there has been extreme retail demand for Bitcoin, buying Bitcoin in the Robinhood app. And there's another important reason why I think that actually happened today. We'll get to that here in a minute. But this is all coming ahead of the Bitcoin halving. Again, we're 48 days away from the Bitcoin halving, which is expected to happen in April 18th of 2024. All right. And there's a lot of people moving into the Bitcoin space in order to buy ahead of this halving. Now, consequently, this massive amount of buying saw a massive, complete and total short squeeze. The shorts got murdered today. Honestly, I really don't think that there's been a day in which I've seen, at least recently, that the Bitcoin shorts have gotten hit this hard. We saw almost $200 million of short liquidations in the last 24 hours. And that's following not only a $95 million liquidation the day before and a $97 million liquidation the day before that. So what you're looking at here is almost $400 million worth of Bitcoin short liquidations that have been absolutely that have been squeezed to the point where Bitcoin went up to 64,000. Now, this move up is pretty historic, okay? Because if you take a look at our Bitcoin total, if you take a look at the total crypto market cap, you can see that we're actually above $2 trillion yet again. And this is kind of what it looks like right here. So now you'll notice that $2 trillion means that we're still kind of away from the total crypto market cap high, which was almost about $3 trillion or so set in the 2021. That was kind of during the bull market, altcoin bull market, in which we saw the total market cap go up. So speaking of altcoins still are well off of where they were before in 2021 during that bull market. Now the altcoin total market cap is only at about 1 trillion, whereas it was about again 1.5 trillion or so, around 1.5 trillion during the 2021 bull market. And that's usually normal. Normally, when it comes to altcoins and Bitcoin, you tend to see Bitcoin rise first, and then you tend to see altcoins move up afterwards, even though we've seen big moves already from coins like Ethereum and coins like Solana as well. I do expect that we're going to probably wind up getting some secondary effect from those coins as Bitcoin continues to move higher. We're probably going to see altcoins move higher as well. Now, what happened today? Okay, so the reason why we saw such high volumes, especially on an exchange like Robinhood, is because Coinbase had a serious issue today, and they actually tweeted out, "We're aware that some users may see a zero balance across their Coinbase accounts and may experience errors in buying or selling." So this is what happened today. This morning, when we saw Bitcoin spike to 64,000, Coinbase was absolutely flooded with both people who want to buy Bitcoin and people who want to sell Bitcoin. Massive volume. And it basically it looks like it crashed their exchange here. So they have increased traffic and people were seeing a zero balance, all right? And so this actually took some time for Coinbase to clear this up. And in fact, it's only just in the last 30 minutes or so they've said that their services have been completely and totally restored, all right? So that's one of the reasons why we've seen some movement on the other exchanges. So that's why I think it's incredibly important to discuss the idea of having not only just one exchange that you use or the community uses, but multiple exchanges, okay? It shouldn't just be Coinbase, because if for whatever reason you need to go ahead and sell your Bitcoin or you really want to buy, you're feeling that FOMO, it's important to realize that there are other exchanges that will help you. Now, Coinbase is one of them. Another really popular one is Kraken, and then another popular one is obviously Crypto.com. Okay, Crypto.com exchange. Those are usually some of the most popular ones. Gemini also is on that list as well. But just make sure you guys are aware of the fact that that this is also a very important reason not to have your coins on exchanges, because if something happens there and you log in one day and it says you have a $0 balance, that would be certainly the cause of some extreme emotional distress, I think. And KuCoin also is another good exchange here. So always diversify. Keep your coins off exchanges. It's really important, especially when we start to see crazy days like today. In fact, Bitcoin's returns have been so out of sync with what we normally expect in February. It's up 43.5% so far in February, that the average is only 15% in February. Okay, the median about 15% or so. Now, this is again an absolutely outsized gain for February. Now, March, which is going to be coming up here in a day or two, we can actually see that March isn't normally a good month for Bitcoin. Normally, we look at the median; it's actually a negative. Okay, for March. The average, however, is about 13%. So I think normally there are more red months there are more red marches than there are green marches. Okay, so just keep that in mind. We're probably going to wind up seeing a little bit of a pullback in the Bitcoin price, like this right here, this almost parabolic move up. There is going to be a pullback. The Bitcoin doesn't just go straight up in a line. But that being said, I do think it is possible that we reach all-time high before we actually get that pullback. So my strategy right now is actually just to remain patient. I'm not FOMOing into this. I'm not buying at any price. I am waiting patiently for a pullback. And speaking from somebody who's actually bought near the previous top in the past, back in 2021, I had some buys actually in the $50,000 range. I also take a long-term view of the market currently. Okay, so holding it for the long term means that if you buy here up in this area, that eventually, if you wait long enough, you will hopefully be able to make your money back and make that profit. So I'm waiting right now. I do expect there to be a pullback, but Bitcoin could continue to push all the way up to all-time highs. And when we get to all-time highs, then I think we're going to sit down and have a conversation about selling possibly a small amount of Bitcoin near the all-time highs. And I'm still deciding on whether or not I'm going to be doing that, but that would be where I would actually consider selling even just a small amount of that Bitcoin. So that's something to think about. I will come out with a video, and make sure you guys are subscribed in order to get the notifications to see that video that I will be making in the future if we do wind up getting to all-time highs before too long. So the other thing I want to talk about is Bitcoin, whether or not to look at Bitcoin as undervalued or overvalued. And I think it's important to come back here and talk about the Bitcoin MVRV score, okay, the Z score for MVRV. I made a whole video about this some time ago, but the long and short of MVRV is it's the market value versus the realized value for Bitcoin. The market value is like the market cap, the current prices, and the realized value is the last time, is the price of Bitcoin the last time it was moved. So when you take those two, and you divide them by each other, you actually get a Z score. Okay, this Z score gives you an idea of if Bitcoin's undervalued or not. Now you can see here during the last bear market we had, the Z score actually almost went negative in some cases. That would kind of signal that Bitcoin is undervalued. And in fact, every single time we've had a bear market, it's actually gone into this negative territory here multiple times here, and that kind of almost marks a sort of short-term bottom, and it marks Bitcoin being undervalued. Now, if you guys are interested in checking out this MVRV score, it's in a look into Bitcoin, and then it's a MVRVZ score. But the important thing to take away from this is not only when Bitcoin is undervalued, but when it is overvalued as well. If we take a look at the 2021 peak, we can actually see the Z-score went all the way up to 7. Now, if we look at the 2018 peak, it went all the way up to 10, okay? And back in 2014, it went up to 9. So it does tend to peak much higher in the range than where it is currently. So that's something to keep in mind. According to the MVRV score, Bitcoin is not close to an ultimate, let's say, bull market high. So just keep that in mind. This is a very, very important indicator. And if you guys, I definitely recommend you come check it out if you get a chance. Look at the Z-score, and it will both tell you when Bitcoin's undervalued and when we're actually near the ultimate bull high, okay? The other thing that will give us a heads up on when the ultimate bull high is going to be is when you take a look at the long-term versus the short-term Bitcoin supply. Now, near the highs, you'll also start to see many of these hodlers that have been holding for a long time, so basically more than like 139 days. They will actually start to empty their wallets and sell. You can see here that if we zoom out, you can see the highs and the lows here, especially as the low here in December of 2017, January, February of 2018, during that bull market, they sold heavily, okay? And again, during 2021, they sold heavily. So the reason why I bring this up is that this is going to be another important sign to monitor to see when we're getting close to the Bitcoin bull market top. You'll start to see a huge amount of this share of Bitcoin wallets start to sell. Okay, the long-term holders will start to sell, and that's where you're going to be getting just an immediate heads up that, hey, listen, even the long-term holders are selling at this point. So maybe possibly consider, selling a little bit of Bitcoin or doing whatever it is you want to do. Like I said, not financial advice, but this is something important to pay attention to, and this is on Chain Exposed. All right, so let me know what you guys think. How much further can Bitcoin go before the actual halving? If you think we're going to go to all-time highs, leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys plan on doing with your Bitcoin, and I will catch you guys in the next video.